Well, first up, it's been nearly 3 weeks now ever since Israel and Hamas have been locked in an intense war, a full-blown conflict that has been triggered by the broad daylight massacre of over 1,400 Israelis back on the 7th of October. After brutal air assaults, Israel is now targeting Hamas's terror infrastructure by land and by sea ambush. As the Israeli army, backed by fighter jets and drones, carried out second limited ground raid into Gaza, and several Hamas's targets in Shujaya area were reportedly struck by Israeli ground forces overnight. Israeli naval forces have also launched targeted raid from the Mediterranean Sea into southern Gaza, destroying Hamas's maritime infrastructure, as the Israeli soldiers even entered the compound used by Hamas's commando naval officers and targeted it. As Hamas terrorists were caught off guard when their ships fired back-to-back missiles. Let's take a look at this video that has been released. Well, on the other hand, Israeli jets continue to rain fire and fury from the skies, from command centers to military observation posts. Israel claims it has flattened over 250 Hamas targets in a single day. It says that it has dropped bunker busters on Hamas's terror tunnel, which contained rockets and anti-tank missiles. According to the Israeli Defense Forces, they have identified targeted multiple terror sites like the anti-tank missile launch sites and military command and control centers during the second ground raid in Gaza. As the troops successfully withdrew from the area, no Israeli soldier was harmed during this mission. This is for a full-fledged ground assault, as the Israeli government is yet to take a call on that. But one thing they say are sure, it is a question of either them or us. Take a look at this ground report from the thick of action near the Gaza border, filed by Pradeep Datta.
We are just a few meters away from the Gaza border, and you can hear the sounds of the explosion, and you can see that there are several tanks deployed along the Gaza border. Anytime these tanks will be given order to just move inside. This is Markava tank. This is considered to be one of the best. And since morning, there's a lot of tension in this area. Often the siren sound is heard. Rockets are being fired from across, and they're also going for the retaliatory action. They're trying to target them. And this tank is, see, right now also while I'm talking to you, there's a sound of explosion. There's a sound of explosion. So there is an uncertain atmosphere. There's a lot of unpredictability in the area, and so there's a lot of tension right now, because we are just a few meters away from the border, and you can hear that sound of those explosions. So we had been asked to just lie here. That is the only way you can just prevent yourself from this explosion. See, right now the explosions are going on, and it's a very tense atmosphere, and it's continuing, because already you have seen the two phases of the war. Now the third phase is already going to start. IDF officer already said that now they will go inside Gaza. Because they will go inside Gaza, they are going to decimate all those people, Hamas terrorists, who had resorted to barbarism, brutality. And right now also you can see, because this is the best way, and these tanks are ready, these armored vehicles are ready to take on enemy. Right now you can see there's a shelling going on. There's a shelling going on, and explosion sound can be heard. We are just hiding behind this tank right now to save ourselves from any kind of a shrapnel, the killer shrapnel flooding in the air, hitting. So that's the best thing to do. Either you should move towards any of those areas, or you should be behind any of these vehicles to save your life. So tension here, uncertainty here continues.
What I saw here was not only sadism, not only brutality. It was related to monsters. I feel mercy for the people who needs a particular proof of their decapitation. I feel mercy for the people who needs a proof of how they decapitated, and I have pictures of decapitated head, and I will not show it to you. This is not revenge. Right now, it's professionally. It's a military, professional plan. How to get the cancerous entity that right now involved with citizens inside Gaza.
In the meantime, a breaking update that is coming in shared by the Israeli Defense Forces. They say the man behind the paraglider attack has now been eliminated, as Israeli Defense Forces say that overnight the IDF fighter jet struck Asim Abu Rakaba, who is said to be the head of Hamas's aerial array, and he was said to be responsible for Hamas's UAVs and drones, paragliders and aerial detection and defense. Let me also go across to Pradeep, who is joining us right now here on the broadcast. And we also have Avi Melamed, who is the former Israeli intelligence officer and Middle East geopolitical intelligence analyst, joining us here on the broadcast. Thank you very much, Avi, for taking out your time. But I would first go across to our reporter, Pradeep, who has been getting us these ground reports from Tel Aviv, because this another commander, Pradeep, who has now been eliminated. What is being said that he took part in the planning of the 7th of October massacre and commanded the terrorists who infiltrated into Israel by air using paragliders.
A big success for Israeli Defense Forces and a big jolt for Hamas. One more terror commander has been eliminated. He has been identified as Azam Abu Rafa. He is the same person who had planned that attack on October 7 with the help of the paragliders. He made those Hamas terrorists intrude into this side of the border. He's the second such person who has been eliminated earlier. Murad Ali Murad was the first one to be eliminated. He was also the one who was looking after the UAV array, as well as who has been looking after those paraglider unit who came out to this place to carry out attack, because that was a very surprise and shocking attack. But if you look at, there is a change in strategy, as I had been discussing earlier, because earlier it was a major tactical attack by the Israeli troops. We saw that air raids were conducted. For the last 2 days, we saw that limited attack was also. Now they're trying to expand their ground attack from the northern Gaza towards the central Gaza also. More than 150 underground locations have been targeted, because they're trying to target those web of tunnels. They're trying to destroy those web of tunnels where these Hamas terrorists are hiding like rats. It is from these tunnels they are operating. And what actually is stopping them from going for all-out ground assault is basically more than 200 people are still hold stage, and they are in the captivity of Hamas. Unless and until they are not released, they will not be going for the ground assault, full-fledged ground assault. But right now all I can say is that they are at a dominating position, and we have seen that how they have already knocked out the internet connectivity as well as telecommunication connectivity. The reason is that what actually Israeli Defense Forces are saying, that one, they're trying to prevent mobilization of these terror organizations so that they should not have any connect with each other while the attack is being carried out. Second, they are also trying to prevent mobilization of the people across the globe, because we have seen whenever the attack is carried out, they try to mobilize people and make them come out for protest and try to beat their chest and project Israel as an oppressor. And the third thing what they are trying to do, even preventing mobilization of locals, because the mobilization of locals means playing role of an obstructionist, trying to prevent armed forces from carrying out operation, because that way there can be civilian casualties. So that's keeping in view all these things, and such measures have been taken. So this is a part of the professional military strategy to knock down internet connectivity as well as the telecommunication connectivity. And right now, let me show you, I'm on the shores of Mediterranean Sea also. Eisenhower, the warship, have also started moving from the Atlantic Ocean towards the Mediterranean Sea. So they are trying to bolster security on all their fronts and also try to carry out attack so that neither Hezbollah nor the Hamas people, they're able to raise their heads. We have seen that some of the terror organizations like Houthi from the Yemen, they have fired cruise missiles.
We'll talk about that. We have information regarding that. We'll break that story for our viewers in just a bit. Avi, what's your take as far as the Israeli Defense Forces expanding their ground operations? If you can share more information.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. In my opinion, actually, what we see right now is not the Israeli big ground operation yet. I think that what we see right now is an expansion of the Israeli ground move. And that expansion, in my observation, has two major objectives. One is to put pressure on Hamas to release the hostages. This currently yet relatively limited Israeli ground operation signal Hamas that he doesn't have a limitless time frame to continue the game of negotiation, and he doesn't have a limitless maneuvering space to continue his game. He either has to release the hostages or bear an increasing and mounting military pressure. And the other purpose of this currently expanded yet not still yet the big ground operation, I think that the other objective is to set the ground for the next, as a preparatory step for the next upcoming Israeli military move in Gaza Strip. So it's a kind of like a multi-phase professional war plan of the Israeli army how to basically reach the final objective, and reminding us the final objective is actually to topple down the rule of Hamas over Gaza Strip.
And Avi, what is your take as far as one after the other, the top Hamas leadership and the commanders that are being eliminated, because these were the ones who had actually masterminded the entire attack and extreme methods that were used by the Hamas terrorists that underwent to invade Israel back on the 7th?
This is a natural development for two reasons. One, Israel already said in front that it's going to hunt down every single person of Hamas that was directly involved in this planning of this October 7th barbaric attack on Israel. And the second thing is that the more Israel has increasing its pressure on Hamas, and now the more Israel is also having a presence inside the Gaza Strip, one of the outcomes of that development is that Israel has a better capacity to generate an intelligence, because Hamas people are now more and more exposed as the pressure on them is growing and mounting. They are more and more exposed to reveal themselves. And that plays to the hands of Israel, because once we have the ability to track them down, we have the ability in a very short period of time to take them down.
And Avi, what about the Shifa hospital? Because that's the latest information that is also being shared by the IDF, one of the largest hospitals there in Gaza. But it is said to be Hamas's terror infrastructure that seems to be operating underground.
Well, the story of Shifa basically has been a very well-known secret, sort of speaking. We know that for many years, and many people in the world know for many years, that Shifa is basically used by Hamas as its major headquarters. So we know for many years that under Shifa facilities, Hamas located its major commanding rooms and so on. It's not a secret, actually. Yesterday it was formally revealed and expressed by the Israeli defense spokesperson, but everybody knows that. We know that Hamas is using mosques and schools and public facilities to operate from within. And Shifa obviously is the most dominant location in that perspective. And in that sense, I want to add something very significant to note and to be aware of. We all understand that Hamas is a brutal ISIS-style organization. It has no kind of like moral restrictions whatsoever. We saw that on October 7th. And I'm saying that because I want to bring something very significant to the picture. We know that Hamas, as part of his military plans to confront the Israeli invasion, is booby-trapping many facilities in Gaza Strip, you know, buildings and hospitals and facilities and so on. We should be aware of the possibility that Hamas has booby-trapped Al-Shifa hospital as well. We should be aware of that because we all have to internalize. Hamas does not think in English. Hamas is an ISIS-style organization. Hamas is motivated by this extreme outlook and an extreme butchery operational mindset and code. We should be aware of that. The world should be aware of it. When it comes to Hamas,
yes,
because it's ISIS-style organization, he has no moral restrictions whatsoever.
But if we talk about not just Hamas, because Israel seems to be fighting on another front, and that is with Hezbollah, we would want to put forth that information also coming in of the strikes that is being reported on part of the IDF. And Hezbollah cites overnight attack that has taken place in southern Lebanon. And this has been the response to rocket fire on Israel, as IDF also increased airstrikes against terrorists from Hezbollah, who are preparing as far as there many of those strikes that have been taking place in the northern part of Israel in the recent days. Right.
Here is something very,
yes,
sorry. Here is something very interesting to say in the context of Hezbollah. Since day one, Hezbollah and Iran are basically in dilemma. The dilemma of Iran and Hezbollah is as follows. Are they going to fully intervene in the war in order to try and to save Islamic Jihad and Hamas, or are they going to stay out of the war? Because the risk is for Iran and Hezbollah is that if they will intervene fully in the war, they will not only risk the downfall of Hamas and Islamic Jihad, they will also risk a very substantial damage to the Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah is the most significant proxy of the Iranians. One of the things that is clearly deterring Iran and the Hezbollah is the very strong position of the United States of America, who actually said to them, stay out, do not interfere. And the United States of America has been deploying its military power in the area. So this is definitely one of the reasons why Hamas, Hezbollah and Iran are, for the time being, are hesitating from entering a full scale to the war. And in that regard, I can tell you that there is a clear expressed
Well, you're saying that's a provocation from their end. Yes.
I'm saying it's a kind of like more of a restrained tactic to basically conduct a very well calculated gradual escalation, but yet not crossing some lines.
Right.
And in that context, something very significant. In Hamas and Islamic Jihad, there is a growing anger and frustration and discontent because they were expecting Iran and Hezbollah to step into the war. It didn't happen so far. And that basically brings a growing tension between the factions.
Of course, we've seen that happening. Pradeep, Avi, thank you very much for joining in on the broadcast here, because we also take a look at those footages that have been released on part of the IDF of the roast of recent attacks that has taken place. And they have confirmed that there has been another terror cell in the south part of Lebanon that was struck. Thank you very much, Avi, for your time, for joining us here on Times Now. Pradeep, thank you very much. We'll come back to you.